Even though they're clones, clones are people. Everybody starts out the same, but in time, as they grow up, they change. One of the keys in doing a movie is you've got to recognize the characters.
Arguably the best and most lovable character in the Clone Wars, CT-5555, or more commonly known as Fives, has one of the most heroic journeys in the whole universe of Star Wars. The Clone Wars series followed his entire story arc, from a struggling cadet to a brilliant ARC trooper that even the almighty Palpatine feared. Throughout the series, Fives quickly became one of the vital symbols for the clone's individuality. He was the forefront of what George Lucas had accomplished, with adding important context to the clone army's quite one-sided and lacking involvement in the prequels. Suddenly, the clones felt as human as the audience watching, and that achievement contributed an enormous amount of insight to the prequels and the Clone Wars itself. Fives evolved throughout every episode he appeared in, but his principles never changed. Brotherhood was always the priority, even if the war suffered because of it. I view Fives as the starting point for the shift in the clone's outlook on this terrible and confusing conflict. He wasn't scared of telling anyone if he thought something wasn't morally correct, and that inspired many others to build up the courage to do something similar. Fives, together with Ahsoka, became the most true and fearless characters in the whole show, because their actions contradicted everything that was assumed to be acceptable from the perspective of the ideal philosophy inside the universe. We watched Fives slowly but surely evolve into a fascinating differential that was loved by his fellow brothers, a character that didn't view himself as a leader or a hero, rather someone that always wanted to do his duty. A revolutionizing clone trooper that, regardless of the situation and consequence, sacrificed everything to save his loved ones, even if he deep down knew it would become his tragic downfall.
No, stay back! Don't do it, soldier! Get away from me! No!
This scene gets me emotional every time. It's truly beyond heartbreaking, because there is so many different layers at play that it gets hard to analyze them all. Fives died knowing the truth about Palpatine's plan, killed by one of his own brothers, assumed of being crazy, so crazy that even Rex doubted his ability to speak the truth. In the end, Fives is the reason Rex and Ahsoka survived Order 66. He stumbled upon this game-changing secret that he couldn't just ignore. His personality was always my favorite thing about him, his desire to be honest and loyal to everyone he loved. That's why Fives had to figure out the truth about this jaw-dropping conspiracy that the audience knew couldn't be revealed for the overall plot of Star Wars to make sense. It's brilliant storytelling. The whole Order 66 arc is of course tragic to watch, but what it managed to express and explore in the eyes of Fives, but also through a much greater perspective with the whole clone army, is genius. These special soldiers are the greatest accomplishment of the Clone Wars, because their story evolved from lackluster yes men to compelling people with feelings, thoughts, and their own beliefs. That makes this moment even more heartbreaking, because you realize that Fives' destiny would eventually become every clone's destiny. His death illustrates the tragic truth that the clones were never meant to be anything more than Palpatine's pawns in a war that was completely unnecessary and made up. The relationships, the love, and the individuality they identified throughout the war didn't matter. Nothing mattered, because the second Palpatine executed Order 66, everything inside of them changed. If you truly analyze and dig deep into what Fives' death meant, you are going to come to the conclusion that it was one of the most tragic and symbolic moments of the entire saga. He died knowing what's about to happen to his fellow brothers, knowing the horrible truth, but nobody believed him when all he wanted to do was to help. The saying, "the hero always die young," is so very true, but what it meant for the whole Star Wars community will always live on. The missions, the nightmares, they're finally over. Rest in peace, Fives. You inspired us all to live a more fulfilling and happy life. Thank you for watching. Press the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and may the Force be with you.